Local air carrier breaking new ground. A shooting incident under investigation. And help for Samantha. Find out how you could assist.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, I'm Natalia Hall. Thank you so much for tuning in. We apologize for the late start. Topping news, the Barry and Sheena Johnson murder trial is winding down in the Supreme Court. 3 men are on trial for the murder of the couple at their home in Holmes Rock back in 2015. Today, jurors heard from their attorney who represents the second defendant.
Counsel for defendant Paul Belazaire attorney Jeffrey Farquharson began his closing statements by telling a story about a client he represented in the John Bull robbery case, noting that his client was acquitted after he took the matter to the Court of Appeal. Farquharson telling the jury that there are people in prison serving sentences that they do not deserve. He says the Barry and Sheena Johnson trial is going on 7 months now because he is trying to overcome the overweight by the prosecution, the court, and police who are trying to get over on this little fellow. He admitted to the jury that he's not suggesting that all of the clients that he represents are innocent, but he's just trying to ensure that all defendants get a fair trial, noting that a lot of foolishness took place in the Barry and Sheena Johnson murder trial, and he is against that. He then told the jury that they have to give Belazaire the benefit of the doubt because the law requires them to do so. He told the jurors that they have to be sure that Paul Belazaire is guilty and they must ask themselves if they are sure, because if the answer to that question is no, then they must let him go. Farquharson then compared a Supreme Court case to a watch, a car, or a jigsaw puzzle. He said it's made up of a lot of bits and pieces, and all of those pieces have to be proven to the jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Attorney Farquharson told the jury that he does not envy them, but they have an extremely difficult job to do, and added that at the end of the day, the ruling of the court is going to be appealed by him or the Crown. Farquharson said that the case is a stupid one because he said Sergeant 772 Lorenzo Johnson mentioned that there was a pocketbook full of money on the crime scene, and not once did crime scene personnel mention that. Farquharson said nothing was recorded, and when he told Sergeant Johnson that this was a dope case, he got upset. Farquharson said the case is a stupid one because the victim's neighbor claimed that she heard gunshots and cars speeding, but did not call the police until the next morning. He then asked what type of neighbor is that. He also accused the judge and prosecution of not knowing what they are doing. Now, once Attorney Farquharson is completed with his closing statement, he is expected to be followed by Attorney Jacqueline Burrows, who is representing defendant Devon Hall, and then Attorney Carlton Sherlin, who is representing defendant Kevin Dames, will give his closing statements.
In other news, police in Grand Bahama investigating a shooting incident that has left a man hospitalized. Reports say shortly after 9 o'clock last night, police received a report of gunshots being heard in the area of East Sunrise Highway. Officers responded and were told that there was an altercation between 2 men in a parking lot of a business establishment near East Sunrise Highway. Police say the victim was taken to hospital and treated for gunshot wounds to the body. He is said to be listed in serious condition. Police later arrested 2 men, a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old. Both are known to the authorities. Officers also recovered a vehicle believed to have been involved in that incident. Tonight, we wrap up our series Inside the Force. In this report, we take you inside the Central Detective Unit that is primarily responsible for investigations throughout the Northern Bahamas. The Central Detective Unit plays a very important role in the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Officer in charge of CDU, Superintendent Brian Roll, says the unit comprises of 5 sections and is truly a 24-hour job.
It's the premier unit for investigating major crimes in the Bahamas. In the Northern Bahamas, we deal with Grand Bahama, Bimini, and Abaco. Our offenses can range from murder to missing persons.
The sexual offenses section is a major part of the unit. The section is responsible for all matters reported in the Northern Bahamas.
We deal with matters ranging from rape, unlawful sexual intercourse, incest, indecent assault. The most popular matter that is reported is the unlawful sexual intercourse that's involving minors. Adults knowing that minors are being abused, they have an obligation to report the matters to the police. Failure to do so could result in them being prosecuted.
Sergeant Detective Randy Lewis says the General Investigation Section focuses on serious crimes.
We deal with the basic investigations for murders. It would generally start in the General Investigation Office, and then sometimes we would just forward it to our serious crime section.
There's also a Business Technology and Crimes Unit. Corporal Lanika Scott Russell says they investigate all matters as it relates to business crimes.
Some may refer to them as white-collar crimes. They're basically all fraud matters. Some are stealing matters as it relates to funds being stolen from different business establishments, or maybe in the banking industry where it may result in a credit by fraud matter.
And for those wanting to own legal firearms, you must first visit the Firearms and Licensing section. Sergeant Charles Charlton says persons must be 18 years or older with good character.
We process the firearms, and that range from .22s, rifle, which is a standard, and 12 gauge, 16 gauge, the 20 gauge, the 410s, regular standard weapons must be 20 inches or longer. But the processing is only done at the office processing, but the Firearms Licensing Authority is the one that makes the decision on whether it is granted or not.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition continues in just a moment.